everybody. As part 2 of my first section of my Pro Shop clinic on fit, I'm going to go ahead and read the closing statement first before I get into it. This is something that's I consider to be fairly important. It may not be as important to you guys as it seems to me, but I would still like to read it. I think it could help communication between you and your Pro Shop and help you understand us a little bit better and where we're coming from sometimes when we insist upon some things or try to get you to do something that you don't want to do because we think it's the right thing for you to do. I called it From Our Perspective. Good communication is critically important for us to be able to deliver to you what you need or want. Knowing the correct terminology and understanding that we are trained and competent to deliver to you the best quality in knowledge, performance, and service will ultimately produce the most beneficial situation possible. Here are a few of the areas we as operators struggle with in our attempt to do our best to serve you and improve your bowling. Bowling is not a highly lucrative sport, and we would not be involved with it unless we had a passion for the game. Being that it's not just a paycheck, we put a lot of time and attention into bowling that goes beyond the base responsibility to be competent enough to fulfill our job responsibilities. We also have an obligation to help you improve your game and sometimes suggest and in some cases insist upon certain changes or adjustments to benefit you in the long run. Some of these changes may not at first seem natural, be comfortable, be easy to learn, adjust to, or learn, but just like any other sport, adjustments or changes require working with something and a good deal of practicing to master. And when I say there, some of the changes may not be comfortable at first. It's if you're used to something and it's been that way for such a long time. What I basically mean by not being comfortable is just different, really. Not that it will be uncomfortable, just that it will be different, and that can sometimes give the illusion that something is not comfortable. It's hard for us to sometimes give the customer what they want or what they ask for when we know that we could help them improve if they would let us. We are also highly experienced and highly trained, and it's difficult for us to take when someone comes in and says, well, my friend says I should do this. It makes it hard for us to offer our experienced advice just to have that person decide to take the advice of their weekend warrior 145 average friend over what we have to say. Bowling also changes so quickly that we even have trouble keeping up with it all. When someone comes to us with 10-year-old theories and practices that no longer apply to the game or could in fact be wrong and insist that they know what they're talking about and we who do this for a living don't, it's frustrating. The bottom line is that we know what we're doing and our only interest is to make you a better bowler. All we ask is that you trust us and let us help you. And what I mean by that is when somebody comes in and says, well, my friend said this, or my friend said I should get this ball, or friend said that I should have it drilled this way, and we don't think so, we don't think that your friend is right, we have a hard time because we don't want to insult your intelligence, we don't want to insult your friend's intelligence or what they have to say. They may be giving you opinions based off their experiences. Now, they may not have enough experience to be able to interpret those things the right way, so they may come to wrong conclusions, or just based on a lack of information or experience, they may come to conclusions that aren't right. A lot of things in bowling are counterintuitive, meaning that they aren't always exactly what they seem. They're like the Transformers. They're more than meets the eye. But we honestly don't like having to tell people, well, we can't tell people, well, your friend's wrong, and if you just listen to us, we'll tell you what's right. And that's not saying that we know everything, but the things that we do know, it's really hard for us to try to find a delicate way and an effective way to say, no, this is the direction I think that we ought to go. And that brings me into my next section. We do understand that you, the bowler, have a hard time knowing what to believe and who to believe. That's the very point of this seminar. Everything in this seminar is either an industry-based fact or proven practice. It's not a collection of our personal thoughts or opinions. We have adapted a few things to fit specific situations and to apply to our region, but by and large, this information is the most current, accepted, and up-to-date that the industry has to offer. If you come across an operator who says otherwise, they are most likely out of date or out of touch with today's game. That being said, hear someone out, question them on what they think and why they think it. If they can offer you a rational argument or something that lines up with what we have taught you, it could just be an extension of something we discussed or something specific we just weren't able to cover today. It is important now more than ever to educate yourselves to make sure you're getting correct and accurate information from whoever you do business with. We hope this has helped, and we will now open it up for a discussion over anything we talked about and address any questions or concerns you have. So the basic point of this is that It's not that we want to be, we don't want to be the know-it-alls that you guys come to just. We don't want you to automatically just believe everything that we say, and in some certain cases, it's real hard when bowlers hear one pro shop person offer some advice, and then they hear another pro shop person offer different advice. They don't really know who's right, honestly, and their friend could be, if a friend offers some advice, their friend could be right. So the point of this is to try to help you, the bowler, understand this stuff better yourself, to give you the information so you know, just by so you can protect yourself, so you can kind of do some of this yourself, and so that you know what information you're being given, and know which pro shop person to go to, or know if they're actually doing it right, know that to be able to have some confidence in them that they're steering you the right direction. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm going to go back and start. I said I had a story to tell you. What got me started thinking about this is our lane mechanic here at the center that the pro shop that I work at is in. He's probably the best. He's the best bowler in town. He averages about 235 to 245, somewhere in there. He came to us several years ago, and he's got one of the. He's one of those guys that can get a ton of revs on the bowling ball without really looking like he's doing much to it. He's kind of got a Robert Smith swing where he just kind of walks up there and nice and easy and just flips it out there. He's got probably 500 revs. He came to us several years ago, and his hand was just destroyed. I mean, his one thumb was bigger than the other, was twice the size of the other one. His fingers, he was getting excessive calluses, he was getting blisters. He was cutting them open. He was bleeding all over the place. He was going through grips in matter of a couple weeks. And he's like, we got to looking at it, and we said, well, let's take a look at your fit. He had 0 pitch in his fingers, and he had probably about a quarter reverse in his thumb. His span's about 4 3/8 of an inch, 4.5, somewhere in there. So going by conventional wisdom, like I was talking about in the first section, conventional wisdom, that's pretty standard, is 0 pitch in the fingers and a quarter reverse for a 4.5 inch span. Well, what we did, we started fiddling with some things, and that's what really got me into thinking about the deeper mechanics of, all of our training manuals and stuff like that, the current ones that we had, we're talking, they talk about reverse pitch and not using reverse pitch in the fingers and not using so much reverse in the thumb to get your hand in, to fit the more natural position of your hand. When I said in the first section to kind of hold out your hand and look at the way it lays, even if you're acting like you're gripping something, if you then turn that upside down, you'll find out that 0 pitch is basically pointing your fingers, the holes are pointed down towards the center of the ball. Well, the center of the ball is directly below your grip midline, or the center of your palm, basically. You can see that your fingers are coming straight this direction. The center of the ball is somewhere around here. If you just imagine the center of the ball is here, and you're gripping something, well, you've got to angle your fingers. If you have 0 pitch in your fingers, you're angling your fingers more back this way. And if you can see too, if your thumb is aiming pretty well straight, your thumb angles in about the same direction as your fingers do. And for you to be doing this, well, this basically makes it 0 pitch for your thumb. If you've got reverse pitch in your thumb's doing this number. So instead of being in a comfortable position like this, 0 pitch in your fingers and reverse pitch actually looks like this, which is a pretty uncomfortable and unnatural position for your hand to be in. What we ended up with him, you'll hear a lot of references like, well, I've got a quarter reverse, or I've got a quarter forward, or an eighth, whatever. Pitches are in inches, and they are usually in increments of a 1/16. You can go into 30 seconds, but honestly, you can't feel the difference between 1/32 and 1/16. You just can't feel it, honestly. We have a digital display on our press, and we convert the inches in, like a quarter reverse would be 0.25, 250. digital display actually goes to the 10,000th place, which we don't need it to be near that accurate, but it is, so we can we use a digital display to get absolutely as close as possible. We want to be as accurate as possible with every single fit. Anyway, we ended up at a half reverse in his fingers and pretty close to 0, if not maybe a 16th reverse, an 8th reverse in his thumb. And his thumb started shrinking. He wasn't tearing his fingers up near as much. And what I was talking about with fatigue, if your hand's in an unnatural position and you keep having to dig in with your fingers and dig in with your fingers, it's going to tire your hand out. Well, he found that instead of his hand getting tired a couple games into sets, he was able to bowl longer sweepers, number one, without tearing his hand up, and with being able to maintain his rev rate, being able to maintain his speed, his hand wasn't getting tired. And like I said, that's really what got me started to thinking, trying to think about, okay, well, I wanted to understand the hand so that I could fit people better. I knew it said it gives some basic guidelines and some of the newer fitting manuals and stuff like that, but I really wanted to understand the hand to see if I could get deeper into the mechanics of everything. So I started applying that to my own game. Before I'd mess with all kinds of stuff. You know, being in a pro shop, you can kind of adjust things based on how you see fit. So I was stretching my span out, I was shortening, I was adding reverse pitch, forward pitch, and it just wasn't really working. And I did some demonstrations a little bit earlier. I'm going to show you my fit on my bowling ball. I have 3/8 reverse in my fingers. I haven't talked about lateral pitches yet, but honestly, as far as lateral pitches go, which means your fingers, the direction side to side instead of forward and backwards, the primary position for lateral, or the primary reason for lateral pitches in your fingers is so that those two holes don't meet at the bottom, because what that'll do is that'll weaken the bridge. If you've ever had the bridge or between your finger holes crack out, most likely the bridge is either very thin at the bottom, or it's both finger holes meet at the bottom, which can cause the bridge to weaken. But seeing as how your fingers, they don't point at each other, and so it just works. Most of the time people use 3/8 left in the middle finger for a right-handed bowler, 3/8 right. We've actually found that when your thumb hole's seated in the proper position, your fingers actually angle slightly to one side, and so instead of 3/8, we start at an 1/8 left in the middle finger and 5/8 right in the ring finger. It's just a starting point. Doesn't mean that we actually, that we necessarily use it. Like I said, everybody's hand is different, so we have to kind of apply different. We have to look at it more closely, but generally that's what we go with. Like I said, I have 3/8 reverse in my fingers. I have 0 in my thumb. My span is 4 3/8 by 4 3/8 by 4 7/16. This is fairly common. Your span from your middle finger, or your thumb to your middle finger, is most normally shorter than the span from your ring to your thumb. Now, in some cases it's even, in some cases the ring finger is even shorter. Like I said, everybody's hand is different. That's just another example of that. I'm getting pretty close to my limit here on the video length, but I'll just show you that putting my fingers properly in the finger holes with the seams going right on there, I'm able to stick my thumb right in. My thumb's in the proper position, being straight above the thumb hole. And my span, like I said, I've got a little bit of wiggle room there, but it just allows your hand to feel comfortable. If you're stretched out, like I said, it can start pulling your thumb hole out and maybe causing you to stick. And if it's too short, you can start really digging in with your fingers. But that's how you want your bowling ball to fit. You just want to be able to stick your fingers in and slide your thumb right in, and just be comfortable. Just as comfortable on something as make it as comfortable as a round, heavy object can feel. Anyway, I'm out of time for the old video here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it off. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Any feedback you guys have would be absolutely awesome. This is the first section. I've got several more sections to come. Thanks a bunch, you guys. I'll have this stuff posted on Ball Reviews. Once again, you'll know me as Gizmo, and if you're on YouTube and you just found this somewhere, check out ballreviews.com. It's the best bowling forum on the internet. Thanks, guys.